If you think old tires belong in the landfill, think again. In this video, I'll show you how to turn them into jaw-dropping garden art that's not only beautiful, but surprisingly easy to make. This is Arkan Aesthetic Studio, where creativity meets sustainability. You'll find timestamps below to explore the ideas that fit your style best. And if something speaks to you, don't forget to comment. Your vision matters. Ready to create something amazing with what you already have. You might see just another video, but behind this is something real. Every like, every comment, every subscribe helps keep this dream alive. Thank you for being part of something that matters. One, whimsical tire planters for fairy garden corners. There's a kind of peace that only a garden can give. And sometimes, that peace grows not from what we plant, but from how we choose to see what's already there. In the first corner of this little wonderland, a tire swings gently under a wooden arch. Polka-dotted in red and green, it cradles a basket of ripening strawberries, trailing mint, and early morning dew. The arch is wrapped in ivy. Beneath it, a cobblestone path guides your step, as if it knows exactly where you're meant to go. A garden gnome watches from the background, quietly amused. It's cheerful, imperfect, and alive. And perhaps most importantly, it's doable. You could build this. Not someday, but this weekend. Choose a sturdy tire, sand it smooth, paint it with joy, no rules, just rhythm. Add drainage holes, fill with healthy soil, and let your strawberries spill over like laughter. In the next breath of the garden, something blooms, not a flower, but a tire painted to resemble one. Its petals, carefully cut and curved outward, are brushed in sunflower yellow and sky blue. From its center, basil and parsley stretch upward, bold, fragrant, ready to be picked. Around it, wooden signs mark names in handwritten French: basilic, persil. Painted mushrooms dot the mulch like storybook punctuation, and marigolds glow like sunlight rooted in the earth. This is more than a raised bed. It's a celebration of what happens when utility meets imagination. Don't be afraid to cut, to paint, to bend what was once thrown away into something that brings joy, flavor, and beauty all in one breath. And then, there's stillness. A lavender and mint tire stands upright, cut with clean edges and placed between two tree stump pedestals. It frames a tiny bouquet of daisies, as if offering them to anyone who slows down long enough to notice. A few stones lay scattered below, fairy lights wrap loosely around the wood, and the sun begins its descent, turning everything gold for a while. This isn't just design. It's a pause, a whisper, proof that even the most common object, when seen with care, can become a window into something meaningful. You don't need a big yard, a big budget, or a big plan. What you need is a little time, a little paint, and a willingness to look at the world just a bit differently. Your garden doesn't need to be perfect. It only needs to feel like it was made by you. And when it does, even an old tire can become something truly beautiful. Two, adorable animal garden sculptures from old tires. Under an apple tree, another creature keeps quiet watch. An owl, eyes wide, wings spread, crafted from tires that once roamed highways. Its body is a soft, faded orange, and its chest painted like feathered scales in cream and bone white. It rests atop a wooden crate, surrounded by lavender and fallen apples, as if guarding some secret of the garden. This is garden art with soul. It doesn't just decorate the space, it gives it presence. And what makes it special is that you can make it, too, using leftover materials, basic tools, and a little time. The trick isn't in mastering design, it's in allowing whimsy to guide your hands. And then, beside a pond, we meet a friend who's ready to smile back. A frog, round and green, made from stacked tires and adorned with comically large eyes, cut from smaller tires and painted with joy. It sits among the lily pads, just at the edge of the water, while bees hum through blooming zinnias and daisies. Its smile is gentle, hand-brushed, uneven perhaps, but full of life. There's no filter here, no perfection, just a playful sculpture that feels like it hopped out of a bedtime story and settled under the afternoon sun. What makes these sculptures so magical isn't just what they are, it's what they used to be. Old, discarded tires. Pieces of forgotten utility, now transformed by your hands into creatures that bring joy, start conversations, and maybe remind you not to take life too seriously. You don't need much. Just the desire to create something fun, the courage to cut and paint, and the heart to see what others miss. Because in a garden like this, even a tire can come alive. Three, DIY tire garden furniture that pops with color. In another corner, life gets louder. A rainbow bench stretches boldly across the garden. A plank of reclaimed wood laid atop vibrant stacks of upcycled tires, each painted in a gradient of fiery reds to ocean blues. Behind it, tomato vines climb eagerly toward the sun. Green peas twirl around their supports. And butterflies, real ones, hover like punctuation marks in midair. This bench doesn't whisper, it sings. It celebrates color. It invites joy. And you can build it. Stack, drill, paint, and seal. That's all. You choose your colors, your length, your story. Because creativity shouldn't live in a store. It should live in your hands. And finally, the heart of a summer moment. Two matching chairs face each other, turquoise and coral, playful and charming. Their rounded backs woven in natural rattan, their cushions sewn with vintage floral prints. Between them, a painted tire table, topped with lemonade jars and daisies fresh from the bed beside. This isn't a showroom. It's a backyard, a patio, a place made for laughter, slow mornings, and clinking glasses under the sky. You can build this setting without carpentry skills, without expensive tools. Just a vision, just a willingness to turn the ordinary into something comforting, something beautiful. Paint your tires, add cushions, reinforce the frame, and suddenly, you don't just have a seat, you have a story. In a world that moves fast and buys faster, there is magic in making. Upcycling is more than a trend, it's an act of care. Care for the planet, care for your space, care for the small, sacred joy of sitting down somewhere that you built yourself. So sit, rest, and know that what you've created is not only enough, it's extraordinary. Four, upcycled tire swings, and fairy playground ideas. In a quiet corner of the garden, where sunbeams gently spill through the trees, a yellow swing sways with a whisper of magic. Its surface is dotted with hand-painted daisies, echoing the wild chamomile blooming below. Twisting ivy vines cradle the rope, making it feel as if nature itself wanted to keep the swing airborne. A little stone tower stands nearby, not just a decoration, but a secret gateway, perhaps, into a fairy tale waiting to be lived. This is the kind of DIY garden joy that doesn't just decorate, it invites wonder. And it all begins with something as humble as an old tire. Tires, when seen with new eyes, can become portals to play and imagination. In another nook, a wooden pergola cradles twin tire swings, one soft lilac, the other a dreamy sky blue. Wisteria spills like a waterfall overhead. Below, hopscotch stones lead toward painted ladybug rocks and scattered boots, a reminder of barefoot laughter and springtime mischief. What makes this scene so irresistible is not the perfection, but the playfulness. It's not polished design. It's love, visible in brushstrokes and twine knots, in the soft mulch underfoot, and the memories just waiting to form. And then there's the garden seesaw, fashioned from weathered driftwood and reclaimed tires. It rests on a sea of gravel and herbs, guarded by toadstools made from more upcycled tires, painted in cheerful red with white spots. They look plucked from a storybook. A white tire swing nearby flutters with pastel fairy wings, and hanging lanterns promise the garden glows long after dusk. This isn't just a playground, it's a stage for enchantment. If you're dreaming of bringing such magic into your own backyard, remember, it starts with seeing what others overlook. Old tires, when cleaned, primed, and painted, are surprisingly versatile. Use exterior-grade acrylic paints, drill a few drainage holes if you're placing them on soil, and don't hesitate to mix textures, wood, rope, vines, and stone, to create a layered, story-rich environment. Even if your DIY skills are modest, let your imagination be wild. What would a child version of you want to discover at the edge of the garden? A seat with wings? A mushroom big enough to sit on? That's where this journey begins, not with skill, but with curiosity. And in the process, you'll not only give tires a second life, but you'll create something far more precious. A living space that tells stories, sparks joy, and grows memories. Stay inspired. The fairies are watching. Five, enchanted tire archways and borders for magical gardens. There are places in the world that whisper stories long before you hear a single word. Gardens kissed by time, imagination, and a brush of something utterly whimsical. In these places, even an old tire can become a passageway to wonder. Imagine strolling through a cobblestone path framed not by stone or brick, but by graceful arcs of half-buried tires, each one painted in shades of moss green and lavender. The colors don't shout. They hum gently with the earth, blending into the wildflowers that dance along the borders. As twilight settles in, tiny solar lanterns flicker to life, tucked neatly between the tires. Light spills across the path, casting golden halos onto cracked stones where grass dares to peek through. It doesn't feel manufactured. It feels like the garden grew this way on its own, as if the fairies themselves had rolled in the tires one night under the moonlight. And then, there are the gateways. Not grandiose arches of marble, but stacks of weathered tires turned graceful with a coat of rose gold and ribbons of living vine. Peonies bloom from the folds, draping down like laughter on a summer morning. From the peak of the arch, copper bells sway, chiming faintly with every breeze, a call, perhaps, to wander into the vegetable patch that lies beyond. You don't walk through this arch, you're invited, welcomed. The gate of twisted willow branches opens not just to a garden, but to another world. Further along, you'll come upon an entryway so charming it seems pulled from a children's book. Two upright tires meet in a soft arch, painted in earthy browns with leaf carvings that mimic nature's own lacework. Clematis vines and morning glories climb and curl across the surface, finding home in the upcycled form. A hand-painted wooden sign hangs in the middle, swinging gently in the autumn breeze. Welcome to the Garden of Whimsy. Leaves rustle beneath your feet, the scent of damp moss in the air. And suddenly, everything feels slower, softer. The weight of the world drops from your shoulders. This is the power of upcycled tire art. It transforms not only space, but state of mind. If you're inspired to create your own enchanted corner, here's a gentle tip. Let the space guide you. Choose colors that match the mood. Soft pastels for a romantic feel. Bold hues if your garden thrives on playfulness. Use real vines and live flowers to blur the line between what's crafted and what's grown. And remember, old tires hold stories. You're not just painting rubber, you're giving shape to a new chapter. The beauty lies not in perfection, but in the joy of making something lasting from something lost. And in gardens like these, whimsy is not a luxury, it's a language. Six, colorful raised flower beds using upcycled tires. There is a certain poetry in giving something old a second life, especially when that something becomes the soul of a garden. In these enchanting garden beds, old tires, once forgotten on the roadside, now bloom with vibrant spirit, transformed into tiered flower beds and edible oases that celebrate color, creativity, and care. Let your gaze settle on the spiral-shaped flower tower. Painted in alternating hues of forest green and violet, the tires gently climb toward the sun like a winding staircase to a tiny secret world. Snapdragons reach upward, trailing forget-me-nots tumble softly from the sides, and nestled among them are tiny toadstool sculptures and the quiet flutter of butterflies. This isn't just a planter, it's a fairy ring, a place where stories grow with the blooms. Creating your own spiral garden bed is simpler than it seems. Begin with a wide, sturdy base. Place your largest tire flat on the ground, fill it with soil, and nestle the next one slightly off-center above it. As you stack each tire, gradually shift their position to create a natural curve. Paint before planting, and don't be afraid to mix lush greenery with little touches of whimsy like painted pebbles, solar lights, or handmade mushrooms. In another corner of the garden, 6 pastel-painted tires lie side by side in a gentle hexagon, each one cradling a little patch of joy. Marigolds and calendula rise boldly from mint and lilac tire beds, while tender lettuce peeks through in soft yellow and sky blue. Handwritten wooden labels give the plot a rustic charm, inviting curious eyes to explore what's growing where. Here, function meets magic. This is a working garden, but one touched by imagination. And then, beneath the open sky, a stack of tires in warm umber tones. Sunflower yellow, peachy orange, and deep coral, hosts a crown of golden sunflowers and cheerful petunias. Ivy spills downward like a waterfall, softening the layers and uniting them with nature's rhythm. A bee buzzes lazily nearby, and a small bird hops along the mulch, adding its approval. This kind of garden sculpture doesn't require perfection. It thrives on personality. Use what colors you love, experiment with different plants, and shape your garden to reflect your inner landscape. Want more drama? Add a solar lantern on top. Craving softness? Trail sweet potato vine or creeping jenny. There are no rules, only the gentle guidance of what brings you joy. So let your garden be your canvas. Let old tires become treasure, and let your creativity bloom with every seed you plant. Seven, fantasy garden creatures made from painted tires. In gardens where imagination tiptoes barefoot and wildflowers whisper to the wind, a new kind of magic awakens, crafted not from silver or stone, but from what the world once threw away. Amongst tender leaves and curling vines, a dragon sleeps. Not a creature of fire and fury, but a kind guardian woven from curved tire remnants, its green and gold scales shimmering like morning dew caught in sunlight. Wings of repurposed mesh stretch skyward, soft and skeletal, whispering stories to the herbs below, dill, sage, thyme, all cradled in its protective coil. You can feel the myth in the moss around its feet, the fairy tale blooming in every brushstroke. It doesn't roar, it watches. Just a few steps away, a snail tiptoes slowly, its shell a soft swirl of bubblegum pink, its body a soothing tide of turquoise. Two forks serve as curious eyes, rising cheerfully to greet the world. Nestled near lettuce and glossy Swiss chard, it feels at home, like a secret garden spirit revealed. It's simple to make, just one coiled tire, a splash of paint, a couple of old utensils, and a childlike belief that whimsy still lives in small things. Sometimes the most charming art is the kind that feels like it wandered in by accident and decided to stay. And then, the butterfly, towering, vivid, impossible to miss, yet somehow soft in its presence. Its wings are tire slices painted with colors lifted from a sunset. Molten orange, magenta dreams, sky-sprinkled blue. Perched beside lavender fields, its body is wrapped in jute rope, standing firm like a totem of joy. At night, fairy lights trace the edges, glowing gently, like fireflies that chose to rest instead of fly. This isn't just sculpture, it's a celebration of transformation, of reuse, of art being both bold and rooted. If you're wondering whether you can do this, know that you can. Old tires are surprisingly easy to cut with the right tools and some safety gloves. Spray paint gives a vivid finish, but acrylic works too, especially when sealed with weatherproof coating. Add found materials, wire, forks, fabric, beads, and let your imagination lead. Sketch an idea or let the form of the tire inspire the creature it might become. Upcycled tire art doesn't demand perfection. It invites play, and in the act of building dragons, butterflies, and garden snails, we breathe new life into what was discarded, and maybe into ourselves, too. Because in gardens like these, the stories are alive. And the artists, they are quiet dreamers with soil under their nails, and magic in their hands. Eight, tire wall art and vertical garden sculptures. There's something quietly magical about giving old things a second life. When you take something forgotten, like a discarded tire, and transform it into a blooming art piece, it's as if you're whispering beauty back into the world. In a quiet garden corner, sunlight plays across the surface of a whitewashed brick wall. There, petals bloom not from stems, but from rubber. This sunflower, bold and radiant, is made from sliced tire segments, painted in hues of golden ochre and amber. At its heart, delicate alyssum flowers nestle in a bed of earth, giving breath and fragrance to what was once lifeless. Ivy curls around the scene like nature applauding the ingenuity. It's not just art. It's a story of renewal. A few steps away, a vertical sculpture rises against a wooden fence like a totem of color and joy. 5 tires stacked like ancient rings of time, painted with intricate mandalas in purples, pinks, and golds. Cascading blue lobelia spills over the edges, softening the geometry with gentle texture. Tucked between the blooms, little succulents peek out curiously. As dusk descends, fairy lights begin to twinkle like fireflies. It's part vertical garden, part meditation tower, rooted, radiant, and filled with intention. Then there's the stone wall garden, humble and earthy, yet alive with quiet vibrance. Old tires painted in rusty red, olive green, and mustard yellow hang like oversized wreaths, each holding a flourish of trailing greens and edible flowers. Little wooden signs, hand-lettered with plant names, give the installation a cozy, personal feel. The whole space is functional, yes, but also wonderfully expressive. A watering can rests nearby, waiting patiently for the next gentle ritual. These ideas, beautiful as they are, don't require perfection, just patience, paint, and a desire to create something soulful. To get started, clean your tires thoroughly, prime them well, and choose colors that match your garden's mood. Use a jigsaw or utility knife to shape petals or open faces. Add soil, cascading plants, maybe even edible herbs or wildflowers. There's no need to rush. Beauty built slowly lingers the longest. In a world often hurried and disposable, upcycled tire art invites us to slow down and reimagine. It shows us that even the roughest edges can bloom again, with a bit of care, a touch of color, and a lot of heart. Nine, seasonal tire garden art, from pumpkins to snowmen. In a quiet corner of the garden, something whimsical is always waiting to bloom. Not just the flowers, but imagination itself. And perhaps, with a little paint, patience, and an old tire or 3, your hands can summon magic that dances with the seasons. Let's begin in spring, where warmth slips gently back into the soil and color returns like a long-lost melody. The garden greets us with a pastel pink bunny, its ears tall and proud, peeking through a frame of tulips and daffodils. Made entirely from worn-out tires, this sculpture is painted with softness and joy, a flower crown resting lightly on its head, Easter eggs scattered like secrets at its feet. This isn't just art, it's a celebration of new beginnings. If you're thinking of trying this yourself, remember, it's not about perfection, but charm. Use pastel shades, play with pot arrangements, and add little wooden touches for character. Spring is forgiving, she welcomes playfulness. As the days shorten and winter whispers its hush, we meet a snowman, not built from snow, but from the sturdy rings of time-worn tires. Painted a clean, frosty white, it stands with a red scarf wrapped close like a memory, buttons fastened down its belly, and a top hat made from, yes, more tire slices. The rosemary beside it wears frost like lace, pine cones scattered nearby like woodland treasures. And in the dimming light, a lantern glows softly, inviting stillness. This sculpture is a perfect example of cozy creativity, simple in build, but rich in warmth. White spray paint, a few repurposed accessories, and suddenly, winter feels handmade. And then, as leaves crunch underfoot and the wind turns golden, autumn arrives with laughter and mischief. 3 bright orange tires, stacked like a totem of harvest glee, grin wide with hand-painted jack-o'-lantern faces. Curly wires mimic pumpkin stems, leaves swirl around like nature's applause, and straw bales cradle this display in rustic celebration. The beauty here lies in imperfection, brush strokes that feel intentional, orange that gleams like October sun. For those inspired to try, this is your chance to paint freely, to welcome the season of spooks with something cheerful and crafted. What ties all of these creations together is not just the reuse of tires, but the invitation to slow down and make something with your own hands. These sculptures aren't complex, they're heartfelt. Each brushstroke tells a story of creativity reclaimed. Each setup reminds us that joy can come from things once forgotten. So gather your old tires, open your paints, let each season speak through your fingertips. Because in a garden where snowmen don't melt, pumpkins never rot, and bunnies bloom with flowers, time is not measured in months, but in moments of wonder. Mini fairy gardens inside upcycled tires. There's something deeply comforting about discovering a touch of magic in the everyday, especially when that magic sprouts not from gold or glitter, but from something as humble as an old, discarded tire. In a quiet garden corner or hung gently upon a brick wall, these once-forgotten wheels are now enchanted portals into tiny worlds, home to fairies, soft moss, glowing lanterns, and miniature wonder. Let's begin with the green round sanctuary nestled on the earth, where moss has become the carpet of dreams and time softly weaves between stones. A mushroom house, red-capped and storybook perfect, becomes the heart of this fairy hamlet. White stones curve like rivers, guiding the way to wooden benches where tiny fairies rest. Overhead, vines spill golden sunlight into this little paradise. This piece shows that even on the forest floor, you can shape serenity from scraps. If you want to make your own, begin by painting the tire a natural tone and lining the interior with moss or a moss substitute. Add fairy figurines, tiny furniture, and use seashells or gravel to carve whimsical paths. Mounted upon a wall, the lavender tire welcomes with open arms. Painted with trailing ivy and the soft hues of early spring, it carries a message stitched in charm: welcome, fairies. Within, delicate baby's tears spill like green lace around a miniature tea set turned fountain. Every element is handmade or easily found at a thrift store or craft bin, which is part of the beauty. The fantasy lies in scale, in detail, in the warmth of your own hands putting it together. Whether you suspend it near a patio or lean it in the garden, it becomes both art and portal. And then, there's the crescent moon, that starlit tire turned celestial cradle. Painted in deep navy and speckled with silver constellations, it houses a whimsical dream. Softly glowing mushrooms, a swinging seat beneath a tiny light strand, and a doorway made of marbles leading to who knows where. This one captures nighttime enchantment, like the forest whispered a lullaby and shaped it into form. To recreate something similar, slice your tire into a crescent, seal and paint it deeply, then build your fairy world with tiny props, lanterns, string lights, moss, and wood. Place it on a stump, and let twilight do the rest. These miniature fairy gardens are more than decor. They are stories sculpted from scraps, beauty born from reuse, and serenity grown where chaos once tread. They remind us that even the discarded can be transformed, not just into something useful, but into something delightful. If your hands are restless, if your garden calls for whimsy, or if your soul simply needs a soft, creative place to land, find an old tire and give it a second life. You might just build a home for the fairies waiting nearby. (11) Vertical herb spirals from upcycled tires. When the morning dew clings gently to the leaves, and the air is crisp with promise, there's something quietly magical about a garden that's been lovingly shaped by human hands. And sometimes, that magic springs from the most unexpected materials, like worn-out tires, given a second life in the form of vertical herb spirals. Imagine walking through a gravel path, your fingers brushing past lavender in bloom, and right at the center of it all stands a sculpture of utility and beauty. Tires stacked in a gentle spiral, each tier blooming with fragrant herbs. In one design, soft sage green and terracotta hues hug the form of repurposed rubber, shaped into elegant curves. Planted thoughtfully are rosemary, chives, oregano, and thyme, each catching the sunlight, releasing their aroma with the touch of a breeze. A tiny ceramic snail rests near the edge, as if pausing to admire the handiwork. Elsewhere, we find a tower wrapped in whimsy. Delicate vines hand-painted on pale cream tires, spiraled with copper wire like a ribbon of light. This vertical oasis overflows with parsley, mint, dill, and marjoram, culinary treasures within arm's reach. A vintage watering can nearby evoke simpler times, while ivy creeps silently along a time-worn stone wall, completing a look that feels as if it leapt from a European countryside. And then, there's color, pastel tones of blush, olive, and sky blue forming a delightful candy swirl in the heart of a veggie plot. Here, basil, lemon balm, and tarragon thrive in soil made richer by intention. Pebbles and driftwood act as both decoration and guide, creating miniature trails between levels. Labels written in French, citronelle, estragon, basilic, whisper of warm kitchen windows and garden-to-table afternoons. These spirals are more than garden art. They're layered symbols of renewal. Each tire, once discarded, becomes part of a living system. If you're wondering how to start, you don't need grand tools. A few tires, some fresh soil, and a spark of creativity can go a long way. Cut tires in half to give shape. Stack them like a staircase reaching toward the sun. Paint them, or let the raw black rubber speak with contrast. Add driftwood, copper tubing, or even shells, whatever brings joy to your outdoor space. Let your garden be a journal of small reinventions. With each tier, you don't just grow herbs, you grow peace, purpose, and beauty born from the forgotten. And in a quiet way, you contribute to a kinder world, one painted tire at a time. (12) DIY tire cloches for early vegetable starters. There is something tender in the act of protecting something small and growing, especially when done with your own two hands, using humble materials that once had a different life. In the first frame, a soft lavender tire sits gracefully atop a bed of straw, its surface carefully hand-painted with delicate snowflakes. Within its circle rises a tiny grove of green garlic shoots, sheltered beneath a crystal-clear dome, not bought new, but upcycled from an old glass lamp cover. The scene whispers of winter's end and a promise of spring. The mulch beneath it insulates, The dome gathers morning dew. And just like that, an old tire becomes a nursery of hope. It's not about perfection. It's about intention. Look closer at the second image, and you'll find utility wrapped in gentleness. A trio of sky blue tires lies in the soft earth, cradling spinach seedlings like a mother holds her newborns. Each one is covered with a translucent plastic shell, clipped gently in place. One of them even bears the tiny weight of a visiting robin, as if nature itself has paused in admiration. The light is clean, almost musical, illuminating soil and leaf without filter. This is what gardening should feel like: real, reachable, and wrapped in quiet joy. And then, the third, where function meets grace in full bloom. A tire painted sage green, trimmed with white, holds a miniature Eden of radishes, lettuces, and other tender greens. The dome fogs slightly from within, beaded with condensation, proof of life, of growth, of warmth in a still chilly world. Placed neatly on gravel, flanked by thyme and other herbs, it speaks of care and planning, but also of imagination. Who would have thought an old car tire could be so elegant? These cloche gardens aren't just clever, they are small sanctuaries. If you're wondering how to begin, start simple. Look for tires with no major damage. Clean and dry them thoroughly. A lick of pastel paint or winter motif can transform the ordinary into something you'll love seeing every day. Use a repurposed glass dome, a plastic bowl, or even old lampshades to build your cloche. Ventilation clips help manage airflow, and straw or mulch beneath offers a cushion against temperature swings. Not only does this protect your early crops, it creates a moment of beauty in your garden each morning. This is the poetry of sustainability. Not sterile, not mass-produced. Just you, your hands, and a garden coming alive beneath repurposed rings. And as each leaf stretches toward the light, you'll know the magic didn't come from the tire. It came from you. (13) Cold frame garden beds using old tires. In the quiet embrace of spring's first whispers, a garden awakens not with grandeur, but with resourcefulness. What was once a forgotten tire, left to age in silence, now holds life within its circle. Welcome to the art of the upcycled cold frame, a blend of rustic creativity and European garden charm. Each scene tells a story. A vibrant yellow tire, cheerful as morning sun, cradles tender greens beneath a crystal-clear lid. The structure is simple, a lifted polycarbonate hatch, propped to breathe, as rows of salad mix reach skyward. In this tiny greenhouse, warmth is harvested even before the season shifts. Just beyond, a terracotta red tire, firm with purpose, supports a frame of glass, perhaps once a shower door, now reborn into something far more nourishing. Beneath its watchful pane, arugula and spring onions stretch, tucked in compost and surrounded by straw mulch. A stick holds the frame open. A thermometer leans shyly in the soil. These quiet details speak of care and love. Then, in the corner of a frost-kissed garden, forest green tires hold a treasure, young kale and broccoli. The old window frame above them fogs gently in the morning air, catching the light like a spell. Ivy rustles behind the stone wall. It's here we find the magic not in perfection, but in transformation. This isn't just gardening, it's poetry in repurposing. And yes, you can make this too. Old tires, often free for the asking, become sturdy, insulated beds that retain warmth and define space. A simple window, plexiglass sheet, or even reclaimed cabinet door becomes a shield against the cold. Straw around the base adds insulation and texture. Use soft shades, sage, buttercream, brick, to tie it all together like a painter's palette. But the true beauty lies in function. These cold frames extend your growing season. They protect seedlings from late frost. They help you plant earlier and harvest longer, all with a fraction of the cost and double the charm of commercial alternatives. In these upcycled sculptures, nature is not rushed, but gently encouraged. And as you lean down to lift the lid and feel the breath of life inside, you'll realize the garden doesn't just grow food. It grows peace. It grows presence. It grows you. (14) Rolling tire cart planters inspired by European farm life. In the golden light of a late afternoon, where vineyard shadows stretch long over gravel paths and the hum of bees weaves through tender leaves, something quietly delightful waits by the garden fence. A rolling planter cart built not from timber, but from tires once forgotten. Painted deep burgundy, the tires cradle vibrant romaine lettuce and trailing nasturtiums, their greens and reds bursting like a harvest poem. Mounted on wooden wheels, this whimsical cart is not just a sculpture. It's a nod to European countryside charm, reimagined through the lens of sustainability. A woven basket filled with well-loved tools leans on its side, and for a moment, it's easy to forget time. This isn't just gardening. This is storytelling with soil and salvaged rubber. Just a few steps away, on a cobbled patio kissed by mint-scented air, an old pushcart stands proudly. A single mint-green tire forms the base, hand-painted with petite pink blossoms that whisper vintage elegance. Alpine strawberries tumble gently over the rim while chives stretch upward like miniature green towers. A silver watering can hangs from one curved handle, catching soft morning dew. This scene feels like a page out of a French countryside diary, where utility dances with charm, and every detail feels intentional. Here, old meets new. Practicality meets poise. And there, beneath the dappled shade of a grapevine arbor, another tire sculpture comes to life. Stacked like a three-tiered wedding cake on a wheeled trolley, each tire, painted mustard yellow, sunflower gold, and dusty rose, cradles its own garden. Calendula blossoms on top like a golden crown, sage in the middle like soft green lace, and cherry tomatoes on the bottom, bright, bold, and ready for the picking. Hanging metal tags, each inscribed in looping script, mark the names of each plant with an artisanal touch. The trolley stands near a woodpile, as if pausing on its way to a hidden garden party. It's mobile, modular, and unmistakably magical. These planters are not just creative expressions. They're living sculptures that blend rustic tradition with modern playfulness. And you can make them, too. With a few old tires, a splash of paint, some wooden parts, and a gardener's heart, you can transform cast-offs into characters in your garden story. Let your imagination lead, whether you dream of a whimsical herb chariot or a wheelbarrow of blooms. After all, a garden isn't just about growing food. It's about crafting moments, moments that bloom. Who would have thought old tires could create so much beauty? If even one of these ideas inspired you, I hope you'll give it a try in your own garden. No fancy tools, no perfect conditions, just imagination and heart. Hit like if you found this helpful, drop a comment with your favorite idea or a question, and don't forget to subscribe for more real, doable inspiration. This is Arkan Aesthetic Studio, signing off. Keep creating, and keep believing.